Hello again, guys. Welcome back to an episode of The Trick Way with Gray Gamer and myself. Hello, Gray. We're doing a little finale today. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Yep.
Non-spoiler. We gave it the same score. We'll tell you then what that is, though, which is very rare for Gray and I. So yeah, it is Star Trek Prodigy Season 1, Episode 20, Supernova Part 2. Really short at the start, Gray. You really enjoyed this, didn't you? Like myself.
Oh yeah. Yep. It was a good series. Season finale.
And series.
Which I was well, not series finale would mean that's it. They're never doing another one. Season finale means.
All right,
they will
smart
keep doing
arse.
it. Yeah.
Okay, right. Fine. Mr.
Yeah.
Technical.
You say
over
bye bye
there.
when it goes series finale. Yeah, that's my background. Okay, thing.
Right. Okay, we'll crack in, guys.
By the way, did you notice it?
I did. Yeah, he's got a haircut. People, breaking news. It won't be long before it's jungle again, and Mrs. Gray has to get the old clippers out again.
I phasered it off myself. It would be cool though.
Or that reminds me of actually how Superman shaves. Like
his heat vision.
He's heat vision off the mirror back on there, whereas it would just destroy the mirror, which I found amusing. But hey, anyway,
Good
right.
Thing, otherwise, it would just keep growing, and you'd have like a big hairy Superman after a while.
It's the only thing that can cut it. Clippers don't work. Right. Okay. We'll kick on. What our plan is to do is we don't have as I thought we'd have more notes than we did, but I mean it's a good thing that we don't. That's because
fair amount.
Yeah, no, just for a season finale, I thought we'd have more, but I think we hit we cover all the points in our notes, and we want to like get through it slightly quicker so we can then talk about what we think's happening with Prodigy after, and then what we might do is like we'll do specials over the next month or so until Star Trek Picard comes on, so we'll do some ideas, and then like say if you want to put a comment below on a special idea that you want, please do.
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay, so we'll crack on then, Greg. Because this was a part 2, I knew it would open with a bit of a bang, and it literally did. It opened up on literally a decimated Starfleet armada. And I note here, wait a minute, what's going on here? Is this the constructors? The Borg just came through town on the way and said hello. Because when you saw that destruction, did you not get deja vu of Wolf 359?
Yep, DS9 Wolf. Yep, sure did. See everything just kind of like damaged and floating around and stuff.
Proper wrecked compared to the last episode. The last episode didn't look like there was many. So it looked like there's been a small time jump, like I don't know how long, like a couple hours type thing, and then they're mostly wrecked, not all wrecked. So
we're firing at each other and wondering why like there isn't more debris around, but
yeah,
maybe the animators didn't want to animate it that much. I don't know.
I think they spent a lot in their budget in the last episode. That was nuts.
Probably.
I mean, animation's animation, I think, not I'm an expert. So, but yeah, no, it was the Armada's literally wrecked at this stage. There's not, it's like a third of the fleet left, maybe less. The only way they're going to end this is basically to destroy the Protostar, which, you want to know something great? I never clicked. Maybe I'm being a dum-dum. That didn't click in my head before now. Because wouldn't the construct stop itself from getting destroyed? Like it's been trying to circumnavigate anything that's been thrown at it. So I think it's too easy, really, What did you think?
I thought this. I wasn't thinking destroying either, but I wasn't really thinking of anything. I was just trying to see what they come up with. I guess the logical choice would be what they did decide to do, and that was just destroy the Protostar. Yeah. I mean, if you want to be a stickler, you could say that the other ships are infected, so it just could go on from there.
Oh, true.
But not, and I guess that if you really wanted to stretch it, you could say that. But as we understand it, the construct had to be in charge of what was happening at the time, and its main mission was to attract every ship it could anyway. So, you don't have to really get stickler about that one. Well, so destroying it was, and besides destroying it, the other reason for really destroying it is you don't want it to exist because it could go on, and God knows what it'll do.
True.
So it's time to end it one way or the other.
Turned into a hell of a weapon. So what? Initially, I didn't understand what their plan was until a bit later in the episode. Then I kind of understood what was going on because that's how I've initially worded it in my notes. So essentially their idea is they're going to do a proto jump, right? Now, bear in mind, because no one fully understands how fast this bloody thing is or how it works,
Right.
future special maybe, they're going to literally go away from the area as fast as they can. Now, normally what would happen is if they blow up that ship, because it's the star of a star like our sun, it would decimate the whole solar system and more. So that's not really an option. What they literally have to do is, and Grail jump in at the end here because he maybe understands it a little bit better than me, they're going to hit proto jump, and as they hit proto jump at the right time, they're going to self-destruct, and because it's traveling so fast, it literally spreads out the damage throughout its whole jump until it completely explodes. So the damage that's in the area they're at the moment will be minimal. It'll be more damage at the end of their journey. What do you think, Gray? Did I get that right? What was your take on that?
Yeah, I think so. I basically thought it was pretty brilliant for once. I liked what the writers did, because if you can imagine maybe on a normal scale, supposedly, let's say you had, I don't know, let's say you had an exploding car like in the movies, right? If you were to accelerate that car right at the moment of explosion or a millisecond after explosion, and
You
you were
travel back in
accelerated
time. Sorry, wrong
1,000
franchise.
No, and you travel 1,000 miles an hour, like from 0 to 1,000 miles an hour, let's say, in that millisecond. Yeah, a bunch of this stuff's going to get strewn all along that path, and saying
Yeah.
you most likely won't get affected. So really, it kind of made sense. So they're going like, all right, and I would, and also, I think, yes, the Protostar is really fast, and that made sense. But technically, you could actually do that with any starship if not that you want to blow it up, but I'm just saying, now that they've made this canon, again, I hope they don't overuse it. But technically, you could do this again if you had to. But of course, that's only in dire circumstances. You wouldn't want to be doing that all the time. Besides, they blow up too many ships as it is. So,
it's the first time I think they've used this method. So yeah, we do give credit to
definitely.
the writers here. Clearly they've listened, the writers, to Gray and myself, and went in and put last minute line alterations and dialogue just to make it absolutely perfect. So we appreciate that, writers. No, it was pretty genius what they done. Your analogy is, I would say, mostly spot on, Gray. However, if you use an analogy of like a car or something, maybe
I'm
don't.
trying to keep it,
I don't know, but maybe don't use maybe use an electric car, because it's 0 to 60 is a lot quicker than if you're trying to use an old bang of a car. Nah, you're screwed. The whole place is blown up before you go anywhere. I like your thinking though. It does make sense. And because it's proto jump, or any kind of jump really, like warp jump, they're 0 to 60. I know it's a crap way to explain it. It's bloody fast, lightning speed of light fast. So that would actually work. So their plan is brilliant. They're getting ready to say goodbye to the Protostar. They're talking about who's going to do this, who's going to pilot it, because someone has to stay back and pilot it. And then Gwen's volunteering, and Dal's volunteering. Your captains of the ship, if you like, which you expect them to do. None of the other crew volunteer. They're all Jessies. But those two volunteer, and then we have a little bit at the start here where actually I kind of missed out, but it's worth touching on. They're actually trying to jerry-rig the ship to be able to do this kind of proto jump and then explode, and they're asking how long it would take. Now, I think we both have a bee in their bonnet at this line. I love Jankum. Yep. Jankum's my man. He's funny, but he says it would normally take a normal engineer a day, but for Jankum, he just shrugs his shoulders and laughs. Assumes it would take a lot less. He doesn't say how long. Gray and I think this is a bit of a stretch. What does he think? He's the new Scotty? He hasn't earned it, man.
Yeah.
He's not even a cadet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sitting there going like, dude, when you work as long as Scotty has, then you can call yourself miracle worker. And he's already calling himself miracle worker. And I'm going, no, I don't think so. I mean, not even close. So they really shouldn't even have bothered writing that into the script at all. That messed it up. A little bit. That should have been out. Don't even go there. Forget it. Don't be dumb.
I know. It would have been funnier if he just worded it slightly different. Like, someone else it would take days, but Jankum will see what he can do. Something like this. Just you don't pretend you're a miracle worker. You're a good engineer.
Right, or he comes up with and he's as an engineer, he just says, "That's definitely doable, Captain. I'm going to get to work on it right away." That's all. It's doable. Okay, fine. That means he's going to do it. Not like, "Oh, I'll do it in 3 seconds," compared to,
And also, as well, note to Jankum, over-exaggerate your times so that you've got a way of being a miracle worker, which we found out later on with Scotty, which is always funny.
Didn't you learn anything from Scotty? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, so basically, it was a no-brainer, actually. The Holo Janeway actually volunteers at this stage to fly the ship away. And I'm like, well, she should have been the first person to do it. I mean, I'm sorry, there's Holo rights and all that, but she is not, she's not a living being, so yeah, she should be doing it. The crew don't want her to do that because that's her friend, and I find that sweet. She's a kind of mentor, captain, mother type figure to them. And she doesn't want to necessarily, she's not thrilled about doing it either because, she's still got the memories of Janeway and she doesn't want to sacrifice herself willy-nilly, but she does the right thing as Janeway would do in her shoes and goes, I will do it. Yeah. She'll make a copy of herself so not all is lost. They can take her with her, and that's fine. Now, the bit we're both going to talk about next was nitpicking, but that's what I do. That's my shtick. I don't care. I'm just going to nitpick. They have to make a shuttle now. They don't have shuttles on board. Find that very strange. They don't have any shuttle. They should clearly be speaking to Holo Janeway and going, right, in Voyager, you seem to have an unlimited supply of shuttle pods, and you didn't have a 3D printer. So how did you do it? Well, Gray, they did have a 3D printer, and they're printing one. The bee in my bonnet is, as I've stated here, it makes sense in Star Trek in the modern day and age in Trek to have a 3D printer as advanced as it'll be in the future. And the reason being is we have them now. Yes, they can't go that far, but they can print off a lot of stuff. Why did it take until the latter parts of Star Trek as we know it today for 3D printing to start becoming a thing? That makes no sense, man. That should have been in there. Maybe not TOS, because that's filmed in the 60s. Yeah,
definitely not.
But
TOS.
Certainly when you're hitting,
and not even TNG either, to be honest.
Yeah, I would maybe even say 90s on, or later Star Trek shows, Discovery, Star Trek Enterprise. That was never talked about at all. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree too. I think that they probably should introduce it sooner, probably more along the Enterprise timeline, because I don't think Deep Space Nine or even Voyager. Our time was really talking to that.
Because 3D printing didn't really exist then, or if it did, it was not something for the home like it is now.
Right, but now it started to be talked about back then, and then over the course of the, maybe the next 20 years, it became, real.
Yeah.
So it does make perfect sense because you figure that by that time in the future, they pretty much can print almost anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the more complex it gets, the harder. And to their credit, when they 3D printed the shuttle, if you heard them, they said we're going to have to make a strip down. I mean, it's not going to be able to do this. It's not going to be able to do that. Blah blah blah.
It's a very good
just
point,
for the essence of speed and get it done. So that was actually very smart.
And it's sorry, Greg.
You can't just go out you can't just go out like 3D print a Voyager ship or something.
Yeah, no, there is. That's a good point. I mean, but we don't want to diverge too much on this point. I know, even though it's our thing, but 3D printing fascinates me now. I was tempted to buy a 3D printer myself, but it's an expensive hobby, so I decided not to. The thing about it for me in Star Trek makes total sense. We've seen it once before, at least, and it was Star Trek Prodigy as well. Oh no, it was Lower Decks. Remember they were racing each other to do the best second, or no, what was it? They do the what's their mission?
They were doing a race.
Second Contact, wasn't it? So they have to go race round that automated ship, and they basically have to see who would win first. But the automated ship was literally, I don't know if it was 3D printing and then transporting down these big elements, but it was at least transporting whole elements down. So I'd probably imagine, considering it was a small ship, it's literally 3D printing things. I want to see this more Star Trek. It makes sense. There are things, though, and tell me if I'm jumping the gun, Graham, maybe I'll pause and come back to this point later, but it was minimal. It was only done to a minimal level, as we've heard. It was enough. There was. I heard nothing about propulsion on it, and maybe that's normal. Maybe how do you 3D print propulsion? I don't think you can. You can maybe print the parts for it, but then you have to do the manual part in between because there's like fuel and gases and all this stuff. So that was enough.
Stuff has to be done.
It was enough to keep them going, wasn't it? Like they were floating. It was literally an escape pod more than a shuttle pod at the end, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
It didn't have much movement, if any, at all.
Yeah, which will get us to our point later on, but where they end up.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
I mean, I thought they said I have to go back and look at it, but I thought they said it had some basic propulsion, but it had no navigation. They did say that. They said no navigation. So essentially, they didn't want to really go far because they don't know where the hell they're going.
Yeah, so very good point. I missed that point if they'd said maybe something about basic propulsion, but I would buy that. I can buy that they've had time to do some basic level, but you don't 3D print a warp core. No, I'm sorry, I don't even believe that even in Star Trek. You can maybe print the components for it, and then an engineer has to come in and do his or her thing. But yeah, no, listen, hey, I'm not complaining. It's brilliant. I want to see more of this 3D printing. It was
as long as they don't use it as a crutch. I don't want to see
all the time. Yes, like the Spore drive or even the Proto drive.
I can just see it now. Some bad writer's gonna go like, "Ooh, now we can have a series and just like, man, what do we need? I'll just print it on the 3D printer. Boom, done." I'm like, no.
Yeah. You need
can't make it that easy.
You need the data again for the 10th time, even though he's died. Just 3D print them. Oh
yeah,
no, not again. It's all right. We've saved these
files.
What
about his positronic mind? Man, no problem.
That's all right. We backed it up in G Drive or Google Drive. It's fine. We'll just download them. I've got a fiber connection. It's fine. Anyway, so yeah, it is a nitpick of Gray's and I. We want to see this 3D printing more because it's bloody awesome trope to use, if not overused, like Gray says. Now, Janeway's attempted to download herself. And then she has that kind of sigh and shrug. It says insufficient memory. I mean, I'm not going to buy this because what she does is she prints, she picks up an isolinear chip and hands it over as if nothing happened, not telling them that there's not enough room. Turns out she's pre-recorded a message on it instead, very like Star Wars-esque. But she just prints it off and pulls this off and hands it over to them. Now. Right. I thought, did you see her recording a message, Gray? Because she records a message later. I didn't see that, and I thought, when did you have time to do that? You found out there was no room, you turned around with the chip and you handed it over. And also as well, when you're giving me that point, Gray, I don't buy that there's no room on a modern chip in that day and age for her to fit onto that, even though she's grown and evolved. I don't buy that. Thoughts?
I do buy that only from the sense that if the program, I mean, let's put it this way: Holo Janeway was doing a lot of stuff, and I do buy into the fact that she was growing all the time, et cetera, et cetera. And to get a hologram to supposedly do all the things that she does has got to be a massive program with massive memory. So I can believe that they only had a chip to record it on, then the chip itself, even though the chip may be able to have a massive amount of information recorded on it, yeah, it's not going to contain all that. They're using they're using the whole ship's data banks and so forth, and compared to an isolinear chip, it doesn't equal. So I thought that was totally plausible. That didn't bother me, whatsoever. As far as time to record, we're back to the nitpick thing again, because basically
we didn't see her do it. She said memories. It says memory filled, and she turned around the chip.
Right, that is a common thing that they've done in other movies before. By just doing that, you realize what she did or what she had time to do it. Or in some movies, they would show that she started to do it, and then they wouldn't show exactly what she's doing. So that's okay.
It's just because it's because it happened immediately. If there'd been like a little tiny time jump of even a couple of minutes, I could have bought it. But she literally turned around, full, hands over the chip. Okay, I know we're nitpicking, and do you want to know something? We shouldn't apologise for nitpicking. I don't care if it's a kid's show. No, that's what we do.
No, I agree. It doesn't take anything away really.
No, it didn't,
because because it's not a massive problem. There's been stuff they've done in prior episodes that were things we just couldn't accept. Here it's more of a nitpick. The only thing I don't accept in the whole episode was the whole thing with Jankum. Other than that, I was cool, even with the little bit of nitpicking.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you there. So moving on, they literally say their farewells and goodbyes to Holo Janeway, and then they jump in their little escape pod shuttle thing. Now, I don't think it had propulsion at this stage, Gray, unless it was like thrusters, because the way they left is as if they were slowly but surely getting dragged out of the hull. There was no propulsion at play at all here, so that's why I was thinking it is pure basic
lifeboat.
Like it is literally a lifeboat, bare bones lifeboat, and then they escape, and then I love the music at this stage. I love the music as they're kind of escaping and they're looking up at the Protostar. The Protostar's getting ready to jump away. It was just beautiful. It was really somber. I'm guessing you liked it as well, Gray.
Oh yeah, we've said more than once during the season.
Great score.
And I forgot her name. She's wonderful at scores. I mean, she really does a good job, and I'm very happy she's working on the show, and she's been doing other things too. And she's got a true talent, her and her crew. And the music has always been top notch on just about every episode, even the bad ones.
Apart from one tiny gripe that you have, and I have as well. When you get the nodbacks to Voyager and stuff, you want the proper bloody music.
Okay. That's not really her fault. I think that's more from
it's not up to her, is it?
Showrunners.
She's told what to do. She's told, I want this blend of Voyager 1/3 tops, and then that's it. Yeah.
For what she was asked to do, she did it fine. She did a good job. In fact, she did an excellent job. So.
No, we're very happy with it's one of the better series actually for the music at this stage. At this stage now, they're looking up at the Protostar, the crew, their little lifeboat, and then you could just hear Holo Janeway. She's got a pre-recorded message now. She's very Ghost. I'm trying to think. Yoda, very Yoda style.
Little old style hologram.
Yeah, old school one, little pop-up one, and they're like, hey, why is she so small? They're saying, why is she so small? Oh, come on, sometimes you guys are geniuses, and sometimes you're dum-dums. It's a message. She's basically telling them what happened. She couldn't, she'll think of them for a long time. She's very, very proud of them. Usual kind of speech you expect, which was really sweet. And then her last line was, go fast. Now, that isn't a Janeway line. She doesn't really have a line like Picard and the other guys do, but I like that line. That's go fast. She says, go fast. And then she enables the proto jump. And then it zooms away. A couple of seconds later, bang, it's gone. And then you're getting very Star Trek 2 Wrath of Khan at the end vibes, Gray, because it's forming a star, if you think about it. So you're getting all the beautiful colours and the distance of it. Very, very sad, of course, but we know it's only... Real Janeway's still good, thank God. We're back at the fleet now at this stage, the what's left of it. And then we see the bird of prey again, holding its own, hardcore, solid, shields are invulnerable despite being old technology. Little classic note of Klingon music there, which I love. We don't get enough of that, so well done to the lady that does the score again. Gray's got a little. We share a lot of the same bees in our bonnets, and this one's the same. One Klingon ship defending the whole bloody fleet, Gray? Come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it wasn't really that way, but the way they portray it almost seemed like it was. And I go, how much trouble would it have been to at least have, I don't know, 2 or 3 other ships doing the same thing that the bird of prey was doing? I get it. It made time, I guess, or whatever, but still. They should have thrown in a couple ships or something, just to make it look, like the one scene earlier in the episode where they're still firing at each other. You already know that the bird of prey and the others are out there trying to help protect.
Yeah.
So they should have done one big scene where you saw them firing, as well as other ships where you see them all hitting deflectors. That would have made much more sense.
They weren't actually firing, were you? I think their whole mission was
shields, I should say.
So no, I mean, I don't understand why you said that. The logic's there because it's an attack after all. But I'd imagine they've just rerouted all their power to shields, which makes sense. Just absorb as much as you can for as long as you can, and then job's a good one. But yeah, no, there was other ships there.
Yeah, and so there would have been nice to see like an equal or semi-equal amount of ships, and they could have had it just bouncing off shields all over the place, which would have made total sense and look cool.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Gray? Ray tracing, but with phasers. That's what it sounds like here. If anyone's a computer geeks there, you'll know what I mean by that statement. So it would have been nice to see the Vulcan ship, for example. That was in there, the Ferengi ship, which we know was helping or profiteering and getting all the scraps. We don't know. We never saw what it done. Probably Quark's cousin on the hunt for a bargain. So because the Protostars went kablooey, the what's left of the Armada is Starfleet Armada is no longer under influence of it. The evil red lights go out and everything's back to normal. And Jamie, I'm just going to say Jamie now because Holo Jamie's gone. Bye. Jamie at this stage has full control of the ship. She orders antennas. Number one, to scan for the Protostar crew. And then I can't remember his name. I'm just going to call him antennas. He says at this stage, because they're so far away that it would take months to scan for them. Jamie's like, they saved our arses, so we will go scan and see what you can do.
We'll go look for them. Yeah.
That's the least that can be done. They did save the day, to be fair. Now after this, at this stage, in fact, maybe I'm getting myself mixed up here because I've got down here that it was a pre-recorded message on the chip, so they must have
came before.
That okay. So at this time though, Gray's going to he pulled me up a little bit here about something, which is technically true, but then my point also was technically true as well.
I know, because it comes from
younger. So we get at this stage here. Holo Jamie's given the message of, as I stated at the time, the next generation era type Trek music when she says boldly go. Now, and I found this very sweet, but Gray's put here, in fact, I'll let you do your thing, Gray. Did you just tell the people the thing? Okay.
Well, first of all, I thought the whole goodbye message by Holo Janeway was really heartfelt and emotional. I felt bad because I've grown to really care about the character through this series. So it was a really well done, put together thing of her saying goodbye pretty much forever, right? Unless they come up with something next season. So she's done. So I thought that was really good. And when they played the music, the only correction I was going to make was that Trevor was talking about the music being like the old TNG music, but it was actually the original series music, which TNG decided to use in their season. But a lot of people forget because they don't think about sometimes the original series, but the music that they use at the opening of every episode of TNG was from TOS movies.
Yeah. No, it's a good point.
It wasn't original. It was not original.
The reason I got that is not because I don't remember originally the TOS stuff. That's an obvious given, but it's because when you think of the original series, you think of that operatic, that's for me original Star Trek. And then the Next Generation, while it borrowed that made it its thing, and not only the series, but its movies. And I'll be honest and say, I'm not a massive fan of the original series. This operatic, not even operatic, the singing type thing,
Well, this is why when they did the movies, they upgraded, if you want to call it that.
And I much prefer that now, personally.
Right.
Yeah.
But still, to their credit, it was still all TOS era, so the music got better and they spent more money. I mean, when they did the movies, they're allowed to hire great composers.
And that's one thing Star Trek's always had: great composers. Who's the main guy's name that does a lot of the older Star Trek music again? Off the top of your head, Gray? That ring a bell? It's not like John Williams or something, but it's
Jerry Goldsmith did a lot of it.
That's it. It's him. He does it. He doesn't do it so much now, which is fine. But he done
much older now.
The Next Generation stuff that I absolutely love. The some of the movie stuff. Love that. So, and this lady that's doing the score for this is obviously, as any true artist is, borrow stuff from the past. There's never a bad thing to borrow rather than plagiarizing.
If you can adapt to prior music where you're still giving the proper respect to the music while you're still having to put your own flair on it, then that's a hard job for a composer to do, and she pulls it off. So
yeah, a cracking job. I'm very happy with the job she done, and I hope she keeps it going in future seasons. Right, at this stage now, I'm borrowing a line from Doctor Who. It gets a little bit timey-wimey now, okay? Right? Turns out, Gray's going to chip in here at the end here with his opinion, what he thinks. Turns out the Protostars created a wormhole. Now, that makes sense because it's got a little mini star inside, you know? And then when you start messing about with stars like that, and when you have the warp drive, even the warp drive, you don't tune that right, a la Star Trek 1, the motion picture, you can create wormholes because you're messing about with that kind of energy that will do that. So it's created a wormhole to its final destination. That's convenient for future seasons of what's going on. And they're getting a message through it. And it's our man Chakotay again. And I said this before, Gray, I'll say it again. You maybe disagree with me on this point. Lovesick Janeway, straight off the bat. You know, that reaction again. That's more than a friend, man. I'm sorry. She's wanting a piece. She's wanting a piece of that ancient American tribal warrior right there, I'm telling you. And yeah, they are very good friends as well, of course. But she hears this message. It's pre-recorded, but it's from the future. Gray puts a note down here, what he thinks will maybe happen in the future. And it's, 52 years in the future, Gray, you picked up?
Yeah, 52 years in the future as of the date of when they heard it on Prodigy. So between that, the fact that it's Chakotay and all this stuff, obviously they're setting things up for season 2, no doubt. So they threw that in there to let you know they're going to be doing this in season 2. And because they mentioned everything about the message coming 52 years from the future already sets up a whole time paradox thing. So.
Timey-wimey. Yeah, hands down.
Right. Yeah. So we're going to see how they handle that next season. So that's your preview, probably, of at least one of the things that's going to happen in season 2.
Yeah.
Whatever else.
Okay, so this annoyed both of us again, funnily enough, this little point here. In fact, it pissed me off. It sounds silly, but it's so lazy considering the job they've been doing so far in this episode. So now it pans to Janeway getting interrupted. One of her officers saying, "You need to come and see this." They're here. She runs out to Admiral Brass balcony at HQ, whatever it was. And then you just see them hovering near the Golden Gate Bridge at Starfleet HQ. And it's the remnants of the lifeboat that the Protostar crew were in. And you just see Rock and the rest of them waving up as the ships are coming down. And I'm like, okay, they were the heart of the Federation, but I never seen planet Earth. How the hell did they get there? I mean, what?
So convenient that they happen to just come land in the water.
At that spot as well.
Right in San Francisco, next to the headquarters.
We found out how difficult that was, Gray, with the Orion mission recently that NASA done with the European Space Agency. They had to do that skipping effect over the atmosphere to try and find an error. Even then, they still only got it within 5 miles, or 3-5 miles, which is good. And then these guys are like, yeah, hold my beer, we're just going to land right outside your doorstep. What?
With no navigation, that's pretty good.
And minimal to no propulsion.
Right. So you're just hovering above the Earth, assuming you got there in the first place. And then you're just going like, oh, I can see from up there, right about there we should land. Like, huh?
Yeah.
It would have been a lot. What they should have done, or what it would have been better, is they said, well, we found them. So that should have meant that you would then go outside and have a shot of 2 smaller ships or whatever bringing down them tractor beams.
Yes, exactly. Beams. How easy is that to do and fix?
And then dropping them right in front of the Starfleet headquarters. That would be totally plausible.
I mean, it's so easy to fix that. One ship tractoring, not even 2. One ship just tractoring it down because it's got no propulsion.
This is another one of the things that you and I have been talking about all season long. It would have taken one scene of that to totally explain it.
Or you don't even need to show it. One line of dialogue. Oh, the USS. I have a clue what I'm doing.
One line of dialogue. One.
They're outside.
Scene. It could have just ended it right there. Boom.
Yeah.
It's just like, how hard can that be? I mean, put a 3-second piece of video in there showing it. Boom, done. Explanation over.
It would have done the job. So at this stage here, they're now in front of the Starfleet Tribunal, which I've seen many times in Trek. Very imposing, big grand court type arena. And they're all looking very guilty, Gray. I was looking at, like, Dal especially, like, you know, I'm thinking, come on, you just saved their day, man. It wasn't Picard, it wasn't Janeway, it wasn't Kirk for once that saved the day. It was you guys, kids. They're all looking guilty. And the guys, the counselors, the chiefs, the judges, whatever they're called, they're hearing the application to try and get into Starfleet Academy, but they're like, yes, we respect and acknowledge the fact that you saved the day, but you broke so many Starfleet regulations. I will be here all day, which is true. You know, he's not lying about that. And at this stage here, Janeway's obviously piping up to defend him, which, you know, I knew she would do, and it's very admirable of her. Well, get it, Admiral? I didn't mean to do that. There you go, pun. And she tries to defend him getting into Starfleet Academy. She says, you know, but especially because when the judges are pointing out that, you know, like, come on, Dal's an augment, you know? And then she says, well, you know, Dal's DNA is made up of, you know, it's got 26 of 150 or so species in the Federation. And she's like, I don't know what's more Starfleet than that. And Gray notes here at the end, a little cheeky comment that she made that was getting it right up Dal a little bit.
Yeah, I think in the course of her argument that she was making with him, which, by the way, I thought was very well written and very well acted by Kate Mulgrew. She really put on the whole, you know, what would you want to call it? The whole official regal type, I'm the Admiral, I know what I'm saying kind of oratory performance. And that was really good.
With her usual humor.
Right. I really like that. But then as part of her argument, she said, well, look at Dal. I said, is he enhanced in any way?
Pause for dramatic effect. And he's looking all guilty. Then she, of course not. And he's like,
not. And it's just like, and then all of a sudden he's like, good one. I like that.
That helped.
That
might have helped.
It was pretty funny.
What was his reaction again? Was he approving of that, or was he disappointed?
First he was proud when she was talking about him. You know, he's 26 species of the 150 that's in the Federation. He's like, and then he's going, is he enhanced? Of course not. And he's like, oh, crap.
It's kind of true. Hey, that's Kate Mulgrew, Janeway's humor. That's why I love her as a captain.
But even in this case, even though it was humor, it made sense to the argument.
Of course it did.
It really did, because he's not enhanced. The only time he got enhanced was he went onto that planet with the stupid button thing on his.
He hasn't been enhanced. He's just been spliced together from different species. Does that make you enhanced or not? That's a different question, a different debate. But he hasn't been purposely enhanced or upgraded since. So yeah,
right.
So yeah, she does her best job. I think that the evidence she gives is pretty good at this stage. The crew are waiting outside while they're doing their kind of final conclusion, and then Janeway walks out with a kind of wry smile on her face. She says, right, okay, all charges have been dropped. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sorry, they've just saved the day. Yes, of course they've been bloody dropped.
Course, yeah.
And then she says, and I never clicked immediately at this stage, Gray. She says, and they've approved 5 of you to join Starfleet, all 5 of you to join Starfleet Academy or something of those words. I forgot for a moment there's 6. And then that's when they say, wait a minute, there's 6 of us, who's dropping out? And Dal immediately is like, you know, guys, I understand. He thought it was him, rightly so, assumed, because they're not allowed augments in there. And he's, it's scared of me. But this time, it's just off angle slightly. Gwen's looking really down and sad, and she kind of knows, I think she knew ahead of time what was going on here. At this stage, we'll pause for a sec before we hit the rest of that point, Gray, but did you see that coming? Did you like it? Did you approve of it? Of course, it's sad, but...
I didn't see it coming at first, but once they said Dal, then all of a sudden something clicked, and I was going like, wait a minute, they're gonna probably do something with Dal, and that would leave. I started thinking like
Makes
almost
sense, doesn't it?
simultaneously. And then all of a sudden, when I saw Pouty Gwen, I was, oh, okay, now I get it. Because I originally thought it was because of her connection to her father in a criminal aspect, but actually this made more sense because they haven't done first contact, blah blah blah.
Exactly. Gray hits the nail on the head. They haven't done first contact, but they have officially now, which just makes it all timey-wimey again. But it makes sense. She wants to go and find her people as well. It makes sense that she's the one. I want Dal to hang about. I mean, I like Gwen, but she's not my favourite of all of them. So I like Dal. He's cocky, he's cheeky, he's funny, he's sweet. I want him to stick around. So if I had to dump anyone out of all of them, it probably would be Gwen. Sorry, Gwen. So there is logic there. Now, she says, Jamie, at this stage, they can't fast-track the system from becoming cadets. So, I don't know the terminology. I can't remember the terminology they used. Gray, you could maybe help me here, but she'll basically take them under her wing. They're like, do you remember the terminology she used?
No, I'd have to look back at it.
It was something like, under her stewardship, there'll be some kind of, not advisors, but they're kind of in training to become cadets, if you like.
Yeah, it's almost like putting them into a training program that instead of learning everything per se.
Wesley Crusher-esque. Think Wesley Crusher.
They're learning. Kind of. They're learning while doing. So.
Yeah, and that's how I like to learn. She says they'll train under her. Bear in mind, she's not captain anymore. She's a vice admiral. So on a ship of her choosing, Gray notes here, ooh, new ship. And I'm thinking, ooh, shiny. We'll get to that in a moment. Believe you me, we'll get to that in a moment. And I think this is good. They say the crew are like, oh really? So you're going to be our captain? And she goes, kinda. Which is kinda true because she won't be a captain, she'll be an admiral. An admiral can lead people on a ship, just doesn't happen often. So
or she may be the admiral, but there may be a real captain.
Chakotay, yes, season 2, boom. We'll get to that. I'll take that.
Something's gonna come around. Or I don't think she's not gonna make Dal captain, but
no.
Just because she's admiral doesn't mean she necessarily wouldn't have a captain per se.
Yeah, no, she will. She will. She has to. I think actually, she has to. Yeah.
Right. So we don't know who the captain of this ship's going to be. We don't know if it's a new ship or a old ship, or we don't know anything because she didn't say anything.
Well, funny you mention that because at this stage here, the crew it looks like they've started their training because they're all they're uniformed and suited and booted and whatnot. And at this stage here, Rock, we see what each of them are doing. Rock is going to be studying xenobiology, the study of new life forms. Makes sense. Sure. She's really into that. Jankum, well, as I note here, Jankum's been Jankum, and he's got a wrench thing, and he's in front of these superiors, and it looks like he's about to hit something to get it working again, and last minute it changes, his hand changes from a wrench, or a spanner as we call it in the UK, into something else, like a tool to fix it, and then all the officers are
multi-tool.
And Jankum just little wry cheeky smile. So Jankum's just going to level up here. I'm happy to see that. We're going round all of them at this stage, Gray. We see Zero. It's got a shiny new suit, and I'm thinking, damn, that's an upgrade, son. Like, wow.
I actually thought that was very smart because you did want something better than the beat up suit she had.
But she was floating before. Now she's walking, or maybe
now
she can
got real legs.
Still float.
Yeah, I like that. It gives it more. It makes her character seem a bit more human-ish, or at least bipedal. So she kind of identifies a little more with the group.
Yeah.
So I like that. I thought it was nice. Of course, her suit's white though, which means it's gonna get dirty every week.
Oh, this is why you'd never buy white trainers, stroke sneakers, because they just get really, really messy easy. But anyway, listen, she maybe can float and fly as well. I'd like to think she has the option to do that. So yeah, lovely upgrade for her. We see Dal and Gwen having a little heart-to-heart, last minute goodbye chat. And they finally share a shared kiss that both of them are expecting and no one's surprised. And they promised to see each other once again. And I don't know if it was Gray or myself. I think it was Gray that put the little love heart emoji thing after. Yeah, sweet. Oh, Gray's sitting there going, "Oh, isn't that sweet? These kids get together." So
and
yeah,
probably. I mean, it didn't give me the impression that when she was looking at the more or less where her home world was, it didn't give me the impression that it was that far away. It wasn't like.
well, with the ships they've got, it's not, mate. Not anymore.
Right, exactly. So there's no doubt they'll see each other again. We'll see what happens in the next season. So that's all good.
What say they promised to see each other again? So yeah, I think she's not gone. She'll maybe make special guest appearances next season, which I'd like to see. As the crew are seeing off go in, they see a large kind of warehouse type structure hangar. Thank you. That's a much better word, Gray. I was thinking that's
like an aircraft hangar, big ass aircraft.
Yeah, and you can hear it opening before you see it, and then it pans to the side, and this thing's opening slowly but surely, and you start seeing the side of a ship, and I'm like, oh, shiny, here we go.
Oh, what's this?
Yeah, and it's another Protostar ship. Vice Admiral Jamie, let's drop that, Trevor. Jamie's explaining at this stage, because of the success, call it success, maybe, done its job of proving itself worthy, they have commissioned a new fleet of Protostar class ships.
Right.
We don't know what this is called. Immediately, and I guarantee Gray's in the same boat as me, we're thinking this is the Protostar A or something, this is what the crew are going on. Logically, and I kind of wanted them to, because that is their class of ship.
I thought that's what they were going to do. From the way it seemed, I was going they already picked out a ship, and
we all wanted to see that, and but they threw a curveball, which we'll get to in a minute. They're at this stage here. I have to note here, I'm excited to see more of this type of class because it was successful, I guess. But in the Discovery future, season 3 or 4, there is no mention of proto drives at all. And I'm sorry, if it's that successful, you should be seeing them. So I would like to see in the new season of Discovery just a one line. It's great. I have a discussion about it, of why they don't use them.
To be honest, though, since Discovery went 1,000 plus years into the future, the Protostar was dead, long gone.
No, but they'll know of the technology, Craig, is my point. They'll know of the technology and use it.
But again, the Starfleet is whatever happened to Starfleet during the burn. I watched the first couple episodes, so I know this now. So Starfleet was pretty non-existent except in pockets. So really, they don't have to mention it. But since you brought it up, now that it's in canon, I'm curious to see now where are they going to bring this in, or they've opened it up. In other words, they've opened it up to now where you could bring.
Oh, great. Yeah. The thing with that is, and it's not a spoiler because I don't want to spoil it for you. It's 3 and 4. I generally better than season 1 and 2, so I want you to have fun on them. But one thing that some of the ships do, and it's one ship in mind. It's not any of the Starfleet ships I'm aware of. A character called Book will come along with this mad ship. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. I've got it up here.
I saw the first 2 episodes.
Oh, that one there, yeah. So that this ship morphs and changes and all that, and this all makes sense for future Star Trek. It looks great. His ship has got warp drive. It's got slipstream. It's got like 2-3 different. It's got a few different propulsion systems that we can use, which is great. And that's what you want. You want the combination. It doesn't have a spore drive yet.
Thank God.
So yet, let's see yet. So I would like.
Don't give me any spoilers, but as I'm watching it, the one thing that I don't want to happen is I want to see the spore drive die. I don't want to see that anymore. I thought the whole spore drive thing was ridiculous.
I told you it's not going to. Remember that. I already told you that.
I know.
They're rolling them out.
That's going to be a sore spot with me.
Again, let's not go down that path, Graham. I agree with you. I agree with you. That's we'll say that for another time. But yeah,
yep.
So yeah,
back to Prodigy.
Back to Prodigy. Yes. So they're not going to get in this ship after all. They're not going to use this ship now. I note here that we don't often see. Very rare to see ships getting made, launched, commissioned on Earth for obvious reasons, you know. It can be done. Of course it can be done. We saw that in the Kelvinverse universe of them making Enterprise on Earth. I mean, these things do make sense. They're just not practical. And I don't recall ever seeing it in canon Prime Star Trek, unless Gray knows of a time.
Well,
but
first of all, making a ship or anything that massive is not it's not economical doing it on the Earth. Doing it up in 0G is what you want to do so that you're moving these giant pieces around like they're nothing.
Yeah.
They still have mass, you know, you got to be careful, but they don't have weight.
Yeah.
So doing it on the ground is kind of goofy because, I mean, think of it this way. If you could, you can't, but if you were, you know, massive cruise ships that are, I mean, these things are huge. Cruise ships right now are
You used to work in one, Gray.
Right. So if you were to supposedly decide you wanted to build one of these giant cruise ships in space, it would be so much cheaper because these massive parts would just go into place. There was no weight.
Yeah.
You're manufacturing them in space. You're putting them together in space. It's far more economical. So yeah, I mean, that whole thing in the Kelvin timeline, because that's a joke anyway. Building it on the ground was really dumb.
I didn't mind it that one time because it's supposed to be a kind of slightly different take on Star Trek, and
well, I mean, it
is a one-off.
But
because this is the start, by the way, Grace. So maybe later on. Hey, don't get me wrong. It does make sense to do it in space. I get that. If you only see it the odd time on Earth or whatever, special occasion, maybe they'll get a reason for it. Because they can do it. Of course they can do it. It's just a lot more energy. It's a lot more strain on the components, the pylons and stuff. And Gray and I've had this conversation before about, you know, would pylons and stuff survive? I think they would with technology and materials at that day and age. But why go through the extra energy, expense, stress, unless there's a good reason for it? So hopefully we don't see it too often, because space docks are kind of there on purpose, unless it's a top secret thing, you know, because they're all open in space. You notice that, so you can't do it in secret.
The other reason I thought that maybe it wasn't a stretch to see this ship on the ground, the only other thing I can think of is you notice that it's far, far smaller than any of the other big ships. So you could literally build a small ship on the ground. It's almost like saying, well, I'll build a yacht inside a hangar. But you ain't building a cruise ship inside a hangar.
Yes. So you don't see this in Star Trek, actually, until the Kelvinverse, and that's a massive ship, which we thought was a bit bonkers, that. So yeah, that does make sense, Greg.
That's totally bonkers. But building a smaller ship at least makes some sense.
It's a kind of Defiant-ish class or size type ship, maybe a bit bigger, which that's more plausible, yeah. And you don't have big, massive, skinny Constitution pylons and things as well. So So at this stage here, Janeway actually says, "No, that's not your ship. I've got much bigger plans for you." And then it ends. I'm like, tell us what bloody ship it is. Like, come on, man, throw us a bloody stick.
I know they're doing
you ship tease.
Look, they're doing the right thing. They want to reveal this in season 2. I get it. And that's fine.
Save the mission for the next season. At least show us the bloody ship they're going on. No?
What they maybe would have been cool is if they kind of showed the ship at the very end and didn't say shit about it.
What did you note here, Gray?
And we could have just went like, what's that?
What did you note here? And listen, you tell the people what you noted here at the end. I'm going to chip in with my point after that, because I agree with you.
This is what I would like to have seen. In a perfect world, and maybe it's still possible, we don't know yet. But in a perfect world, what I really wanted to see, and I was almost thinking it was going to happen when the doors started opening to this hangar,
and you see the point. You see the point before anything else, and you think,
right? You see, right, and it's immediately I'm sitting there going like, "Ooh, a new Voyager class ship. Doesn't that make sense? Janeway, Voyager, new crew. Oh, that would be so cool." And then as it opened up, I go like, "Oh crap."
Sorry, I go.
I'm just saying. I hope that I know it's hoping against hope, but I would wish that they did do that in season 2. That would be so good. That makes so much sense. It really does. So
maybe that's why, Gray. Maybe that's why.
I mean, and maybe they did. We don't know. We're gonna find out. But I would love to see a new Voyager class ship all of a sudden. It would just be so wonderful.
Just a new Voyager. I mean, it's because it's an Intrepid class, isn't it? So I'd love to see another the Voyager. Voyager
you could just
B.
You take an Intrepid class ship, give it a couple of makeovers, whatever, and refit, and then call it Voyager A, B, C, whatever it is. And that would be so cool. And I hope they do it. I'm praying that they do it. I'd probably not, but I hope they do. That would
Yep.
really be cool.
What else
And I
did
think that there's good hope for it, because since they did make the Protostar and distinctively said you ain't getting it, now I'm sitting there going like, okay, now maybe, just maybe, we might get it.
I kind of hope so. You noted here. I must have missed this again, Greg. The kind of music, the little Voyager nod in the score,
This is what got me
TOS.
going, because the hangar door started opening, and then I hear some music, and then all of a sudden the Voyager sounded like stuff started happening, and so I'm going like, oh, because I'm hearing the music and I'm going like, "Ooh, a new Voyager ship!" Man, so
That's a good
and
point.
then in the background, I know it's only little, but in the background there was scenes, there was music that they used in the scene of the refitted Enterprise in motion picture, where that little high pitched, fluty kind of like that.
Mm.
That was in it. That was in it too.
Oh
So they
wow!
used a Voyager sound alike. They used something from TOS movies, and of course the typical TOS banner theme that we all know. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. No, it was...
signature. You got to have that. So they had all three of these in one thing, and I was going like, yeah, cool.
So what we'll do is we'll kind of wrap up with our opinions or a score, and then we've got a little bit of time to kind of play with what we think is going to happen in next season, where it's going. So for me, 10 out of 10. I was close to giving it a 9.5 out of 10 because a couple little plot points, but I'm everyone's allowed one or two little tiny things like that. So I will give it a 10 out of 10, which is rare. Thoroughly enjoyed it. It wrapped things up nicely. And I believe, Gray, you agree with me on this one?
Yeah, I was pretty much, bordering
almost
on at least
perfect.
a 9. Yeah, bordering on at least a 9, but I went with the benefit of the doubt that despite the little burp or two, it deserved a 10, because it was the season finale. They did handle it really well. It was really good top to bottom. The writing for the 90% of the time was excellent. I mean, wasn't much you could really say was wrong at all. So it was really good.
Yeah, exactly.
And as series and as season finales go, I thought it was a really good season finale.
It's not a finale. What's this season finale you're talking about?
Season
Is that
finale
how they say
means
it? Is
end
that how
of
they
the
say it?
season. It's the last season. It's the last episode of any
So not a
season is
finale.
season finale. No, usually finale, but that depends. You can say finale if you want,
Gray,
but
Gray knows these
usually...
things. I don't. He's very entertainment. He knows
Yeah,
these
everybody
things.
people kind of get mixed up between season finale and series finale. And series finale means that it's the last episode that you're ever going to see of the series, period, and the discussion is over. Then that's a series finale.
Is that a silent E then? Is that what you're telling me?
Series,
Finale.
yeah, kind of.
I've learned something today.
But either way, it doesn't really matter.
See, Gray's got years and wisdom in me, so I'm going to abuse and take all this.
You wouldn't be wrong either way. It's just like I said.
Good.
It's just splitting hairs. And the only reason that we know this is a season finale 100% is because we already know there's going to be a season 2.
Oh, did they? Have they confirmed that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I pretty much when I've been hearing everything, it's okay. Anything's possible. When they go back, they might say like, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to do it after all," because these days you never really know 100%. But
no, they're not.
speaking,
They're not DC. They're not canceling everything, mate. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly, as we've seen already in practice. Right?
Cue into Gray's green room for an hour-long rant on that.
But at least we finally see, But everything that I've read is pointing extremely strongly to there's no doubt there'll be a season 2.
Good.
The only thing I kind of curious about, if you think about it for a second, so if there's going to be a season 2, Janeway is obviously going to be still involved. So I kind of like the idea that even though we lost hologram Janeway, which we all were sad about,
Bob Picardo.
We get back the real Janeway, so you're not missing things.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty smart. Now, what I would like not to see is I don't want them to bring back holo Janeway ever. Period.
That'd be weird.
She made the sacrifice.
That'd be weird. It'd be weird having her in the fake one.
Right. So they have to just say that's it, gone, bye-bye. That's it.
Agreed.
And I'm sure that's what they're thinking. And now since Janeway, now let's think of a second thing that's interesting. So the actress Kate Mulgrew obviously is Janeway, plays the voice. She obviously will be in the second season, meaning that she'll be in the second season entirely, all whatever
Good.
20 episodes. Okay, which is great. This is wonderful stuff for us, right? But there has been many rumors flying around that they want Admiral Janeway to come back for her own live action series. Now, whether
Please.
it happens or not as a series or a special movie or limited series or whatever, we don't know yet if it even happens.
She
But
can do
if that
both.
were it, I was going to say, so if that happens, she's going to be a busy person because she's going to do the voice acting in Prodigy and then supposedly have her own.
She loves Star Trek. She wasn't sure after she finished Voyager she wanted to do it again because they were long ass hours, and then they got to the stage of, they only film less than half of what they used to, take just the same amount of time to do that, which we've moaned and complained about before, but at least for actors and actresses it is better, because if the stories are really good, which writing is usually better these days than it used to be back in the day, I expect it to be, then she's the right story. We're not shooting for 9 months of the year and doing 15-hour days like they used to in Voyager. She's up for it.
Well, to be honest, let's be totally honest here. She's considerably older than she was when she did Voyager, so this also is good for her from a physical standpoint because she's older. She has less stress strain to do a smaller amount of episodes than try to pull off 25 episodes or something in live action.
True.
So
she's not Patrick
that's all
Stewart old
good.
though. She's not, so she's in her 60s.
Now, what
He's
would
in
be
his
really
80s.
cool? Yeah, that's another story. Yeah, we'll get into that another time. But what would really be kind of cool, wouldn't it be neat to sit there and see, like, while Prodigy season 2 is about ready to premiere, let's say, or something like that, we get an announcement that she's going to do a live action series, because now you could tie the end of season 2 right into a Janeway series.
Yeah, that's if
Boing.
she's not going to. That's if she's not going to voice the role in the second season of Prodigy, because I don't think she would do both. Can there be a season 2 of Prodigy without her? I can't see how that would be possible, because she's basically said she's going to be the one mentoring. But we'll see what happens.
Again, if I'm the people behind this, and I'm the people making this and the marketing and all that stuff, I'm going to sit there and go, what's the best way? Assuming now, of course, that there will be a live action Janeway series. Okay, what would be better than to have Prodigy come out with Kate Mulgrew doing the voice for the entire second season, and then during that same part of the time, they announced a live action series, and by the end of Prodigy season 2, you're rolling soon right into a Janeway live action series. It's a no brainer.
I would take it.
Great. It's great promotion.
I would take that
Now
for sure.
we have because right now we have no idea when season 2 of Prodigy is going to be on. I mean, they haven't even started production yet or anything, so we got at least a year probably.
Yeah, and we'll need to touch on that, because for all the flaws that Lower Decks may have, it showed all its episodes back to back. It was like 10 or something, whereas Prodigy done this weird thing it was over a year actually. I don't know if it was like a year and a half. They done one whole season, but they split it into 2 of 10 and 10. You should have just made it season 1 and season 2, or made it less episodes. That didn't make sense to me, because we had to wait ages to get all the episodes in there. So if they do a second season, just make it 10. I don't think they will make it 20. It's too much. Just make it 10.
Yeah.
Don't split it into 2. You've done again. But we've got a little bit of time to play with what we think's happening with Prodigy going forwards, Gray. So I think I'll mention quick what I think's on the sea for season 2, and then you can let me know what's going on. So I think for season 2, they may take a new Intrepid class, the Voyager.
We hope
be A or be E, be the Voyager A. I'd love to see that, because in later on in the season of Discovery you're watching, like you say, I've already told you this before anyway, you see the Voyager J. So considering the time jump between the amount of time between the 2 shows, like A, B, C, D, that's like 6, 7, 8 ships. So It should be way further up in the alphabet. So I'm thinking these Intrepid class last a good long ass time. I'd like to see the A. I'd love to. That's what they should be doing.
Yep.
Or if we don't see it, I want to see it in a live action. But I don't think we'd see it in a live action. We're more likely to see it in the new season of Prodigy. So I want to see that first of all. It'll be fitted with slipstream technology. Maybe it won't be Proto. They'll leave the Proto stuff, the Proto drive to the Proto class. And then they'll have the slipstream because they pioneered that. They'll go back to the Delta Quadrant because they've got to. That's Voyager's stick. And then they'll look for Chakotay, and that will be the premise of this series. I don't think Chakotay at the start will be captain because they need to find the goddamn man first. But who they'll have for captain, I don't know. I reckon it'll just be some random Joe, and that's fine, whatever. Jamie will be there as liaison, like Admiral Kirk has been in the past, where he's poking his nose in there. So that's what I like. That's what I think will happen. I'm looking forward to it immensely. I can only get better, really. What do you want to see going forwards, Greg? What do you think will happen?
Well, I agree with you. It would be so wonderful to see a Voyager A Intrepid class refit. I think they should do it.
No, it won't be refit in the museum. It'll be an A or a B.
Yeah. I think it would be great to see it. Now, some people are going to say, like, well, yeah, but then you can't call it Star Trek Prodigy. You'd have to call it Star Trek Voyager.
Nah,
again.
nonsense.
And I says no, because it's only it's a class of ship, so that's fine. And so you go on. So I don't know if it's going to happen, but God, I hope I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
To be fair, pause Greg for 2 seconds. Sorry to interrupt, Greg. They didn't name the show Star Trek Proto or Protostar.
Right, exactly.
Like Voyager, so they can any bloody class of ship. Sorry, carry on.
Right. So if they do that, which I hope they will, that makes 100% sense to me, and it'd be great. On the viewpoint of captain, there's two things that could happen, actually, now that I think about it, and there's precedent for this. Either she would pick on a captain that would be a new character that we could all grow to like or whatever. That would be the official captain.
Harry Kim.
She's aboard. Or what they could, Harry Kim. Or what they could do is what happened in, I believe it was Wrath of Khan, where Admiral Kirk took a temporary commission as captain. You remember? So they technically demoted him, but they didn't really demote him. It was just a reassignment to captain for the Enterprise, so that he was done being an admiral for the time being, became a captain again of the ship, to which then he would go back to being an admiral whenever he wanted. Now that's been set up before in the movies, so it's definitely could happen.
It can happen, yeah.
So she would be Captain Janeway again, regardless of the fact that she reached Admiral. She would do the same trick that Kirk did, and she would become captain of whatever ship it's going to be. Yeah. So that may be quite possible. In fact, that may be more possible than maybe picking a new person in the cast. We'll see.
True. I would like to see that.
And definitely they're going after Chakotay. There's no way, shape, or form we don't know that's going to happen. So that is definitely going to be the overall premise of season 2, is seeing what the hell happened to Chakotay. And now they may do other adventures along the way, same as they did in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
But that's going to be the huge overarching thing, of trying to find him or whatever. Which is kind of cool, because if they did find Chakotay, let's say finally, like, I don't know, halfway through the season or something, they may be able to do some cool stuff with Chakotay.
Yeah.
As well. So we gotta see. So that's right there. That's going to be it. We know that's going to be it. They set it up. They laid it right out in front of our face. So we know that's going to happen in season 2, no doubt.
Yeah. I would like to maybe see them leaning or touching on what happened in season 1 at some point, of just the devastation that happened and how things are progressing and repairs and all that, because you don't see that enough. Like, they've been absolutely hammered, no doubt about it. Many starships lost. We want to see how they recover from that, because maybe they don't go to Delta Quadrant. They probably will. What happens?
Well, the other thing that was kind of confusing in Prodigy, this is part of the writing I didn't understand. They made it sound like that the entire fleet showed up for this, and that, okay, like 2/3 of the fleet has been decimated because of what happened to the construct. But that's not true, really, because if you think about it, the only amount of ships you saw there was 25 or 30 ships, maybe. That is not the whole fleet.
New ones were warping in, though.
Before.
Remember?
No, I agree, but still, it's not plausible because if you figure, just look at if you correlate it to today, okay, for instance, all right. So let's say I'm going to take the U.S. as the example. So in defense, just in the Air Force alone, not the other branches of the military or whatever. Okay, there's something like 400 jets of one class. One class.
Compensating,
Okay.
Gray.
So what you're saying is now you're talking Starfleet. We're talking the whole world now, the whole planet, not just one country. Okay, so it's the whole planet as well. And I'm only taking Earth now as an example.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole planet is pumping out starships. You mean to tell me that the entire fleet for the planet Earth is 30 ships?
No,
No.
it's not. That's
It'd
what's
be thousands.
That's what's in the
thousands of ships.
That's maybe not thousands, maybe hundreds.
Okay,
I don't know.
but at least hundreds, if not 1,000.
Gray, they don't make as many. I don't know where I read this. They don't make as many as you think they do. Depending on the complexity of the ship. I don't know where I was reading this. It's in the back of my mind. I've read it or seen it in a video somewhere. For example, a more complex ship like the Defiant or the Protostar, they maybe can only make 2 or 3 a year. That's what I've read, depending on what it is.
But the reason they do that is for the sake, in some ways, that for the sake of writing.
And logistics and common sense. No?
Right, but if you're talking about, again, Starfleet, 150 species and all these worlds, and you got to send your ships all over the place, not that every other planets don't make their own ships, but what I'm saying is that I'm sorry, there's going to be a lot more than 25 or 30. Whether it's 100, 200, 500, 800, it's going to be a lot more. So, does this hurt Starfleet? Well, damn straight. If they damaged and blew up half of these ships, yeah, that's going to be a nice punch to the gut. But is it going to keep you from being able to field a fleet and protect your planet? No.
Yeah.
You'll still be able to do it.
And we're forgetting the trope of Star Trek a lot of time where half the time they need help, more than half the time, and they're the only bloody ship in the quadrant or the sector. It's always been a thing in Star Trek. And now, conveniently enough, we'll get 30 of them that have just warped in. No, they have more, but they'll be further away. And to be fair, at that time, wherever that hail reached, those ships were... Every ship in range was going to be warping in to save the day, because it's this automated thing that we complained about before. So, a good chunk of them are there, but not all of them, certainly not. And while it'll be painful, they'll get back on their feet. And I would like to see what happens. And I just briefly touch on it. Maybe bring in a couple of extra crew members just to kind of beef it up, because they will be the main guys. But I'd like to see Jankum learning from a real engineer. I would like to see them all have the respective peers above them, what they're learning from, and see how they go. And then Janeway continue to be horror-some usual self. So,
I mean, obviously, if they're going to do new episodes that still revolve around the cast, and Gwen included, because I'm sure she'll be back, and that's part of probably what's going to happen in season 2. But whatever. So you have to have an explanation of how only these cast members go off on their adventures as opposed to the whole ship. You know what I mean?
They do that in Star Trek all the bloody time, don't they?
Right, exactly. So you want to make sure you handle all that properly, so it doesn't look like it's,
She has to follow them everywhere. They're training, so
right.
Kind of makes sense.
So there'll be particular missions that they're thrown into, and of course something will happen, and it'll make it that much better, whatever. So I'm thinking, I think the future's pretty bright for season 2. And look, overall, the season, with the exception of there was some bad episodes, and there was some
but not many
writing here and there. But yeah, out of the 20 episodes, there wasn't a lot of those. And overall, I was very surprised. I'm happily surprised as to the fact that the season taken as a whole was pretty good.
Yeah.
And
there's a good point. What would you give it out of 10 for the season? I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
I would go with that.
Which is very admirable.
I can't push it to 9, but I definitely wouldn't go as low as 7. So 8 sounds normal.
Yeah, 8.5, something like that for me sounds
and hell,
nice.
That's really good. I mean,
yeah, no shame in that.
Even 7 isn't bad.
7 and above is good. 7. Yeah. One thing I do want to see, Gray, and we'll never see it, and I don't see why we can't see it, is it doesn't have to happen with Prodigy. It could happen with Lower Decks. I want to see a scene, an episode, a moment where one of the animated characters ends up in the live action. Because it's all one universe. It just happens to be that those two shows I mentioned were animated. Why can't that happen? Why can't we see, say, Jamie does her standalone show and we get a little cameo from Jankum or something, you know? Why couldn't we see that, Greg? Would you want to see that?
Well, first you'd have to figure out which of the characters can they do the cheapest.
Yeah, because they're all... Oh, it'd probably be Dal. It probably would be Dal. Somebody like Dal.
It'd probably be Dal or Gwen, you know, because they're the most normalish, I guess if you want to call it, humanoids, if you want, I suppose.
Yeah.
Rock would be rough because he looks bigger than the Hulk. She looks bigger than the Hulk, and that'd be rough. Jankum is, 2 foot tall and 8 foot wide. It'd be a little hard.
Poor Jankum, man.
Him too. I know.
Hey, COVID was bad for Jankum as well. Leave him alone. Leave my boy alone.
But Jankum is possible. Dahl is possible. Gwen. The only reason I'm gonna say maybe she's not possible is because her whole race are really thin people. In fact, they look very thin, like what's his face on Discovery.
Saru.
Saru, yeah. So they would have to be more kind of like him.
Yeah, that's true.
On the thin side. So yeah, I'm not saying they're going to cheap out, but you always got to remember when they're talking budget. Yeah, they're going to bring back somebody. I would love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I think it would be kind of cool.
We'd like to see. I mean, Murph as well would be cool, but that's 100% CGI, so that's more challenging. Yeah. Plus, he doesn't really say anything. It's just bloody noises this actor makes, which is the dream job.
Or they'll just put him in a weird looking suit and he'll.
Yeah. So I mean, just think of the other sci-fi show.
Well, the
Orville with the blob thing. So. The green officer, the green goo guy. I can't remember his name. From Orville.
Okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. So you would like to see it. That's the main thing, right? And so would I.
The only thing I know this is gonna. Well, this isn't. It's not that it's weird, but I don't think I would like to see any of the Lower Decks characters in live action. None.
Cameos.
0.
I'm talking about cameos. Nothing major or substantial. Just.
No, don't want to see it because I'll tell you why.
The humor's different. I know.
Yeah, I look at Lower Decks as being the typical cartoon humor portion of the Star Trek universe, and to me, I have a problem when it crosses over to real. And the problem I'm going to have is that we already know that Lower Decks is going to cross over with Strange New Worlds.
Oh yes, I forgot about that. How does that work?
Yeah, I am not a fan. I'm not a fan of seeing that. I really.
Let's wait to see what they do. Great. It might just be a cameo. Might be something funny. Because you seem to forget this second contact thing is very.
Riker was in. So.
True. This second contact thing is very important, mate. It has to be.
Yeah. Who was that?
Who was that? Was that your daughter? Your granddaughter?
That's my daughter. Yes.
Hello, yes, Gray Jr.
He said, "Hello, Gray Jr."
Little cameo from Gray's daughter, probably.
We did see her just for a moment.
Yeah, briefly.
Anyway, no, my daughter's great. My whole family's great. So anyway, they're pointing at me like they want something.
Yeah, we'll wrap up, Gray. We'll wrap up because it's probably that time. Unless there's anything else you need to add there.
No,
we love the season in general.
We'll save it for a special.
We can. We're going to talk about where we think future seasons and different shows are going to go. So, I'll do the usual call to arms. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We will do specials over the next month or two. What we will do at this stage is ask folk to subscribe and leave a little comment below what they want to see for specials, and we'll do that. Gray's distracted because they normally would do this point below, but we'll let you off, mate. But listen, we are also on the podcasting side of things as well, so you can listen as an audio platform wherever you get your podcast from. Get us at the Trekway on Twitter. Gray's Green Room is one I do with him as well, and we talk about things entertainment, Marvel, DC, sci-fi, fantasy, all that kind of stuff. We've got a long episode where we rant about DC, so get that from YouTube, podcasting platforms, and Gray's Green Room on Twitter. And lastly, part of the gaming community we all come from is Extreme PC UK, from the website for a short space of time before Nick gets rid of it. We have a Discord there where we all talk and mingle. So we will be doing specials. So thank you everyone for coming along. Until the next time, do your thing, Gray.
Live long and prosper.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.